It's Wednesday, February 1st, 2017. It's time for WorthPoint Chats with Harry Rinker. I'm Greg Watkins, the editor at WorthPoint.com, and we're going to talk with Harry Rinker, our esteemed expert on all things antiques and collectibles. How you doing,
Yes,
Harry?
you may notice the background is a little different today.
It is. I like the historic wallpaper.
Historic wallpaper. Yep, I am in Washington, D.C. at the Lowe's Madison Hotel. Day one of 2 days meeting of the Citizen Stamp Advisory Committee. As you may know, I'm on that committee. I'm one of now 11. We're supposed to be 15, but we're short a few people that advise the Postmaster General on the subject matter and design of stamps. And we've had our first meeting. An interesting kind of a side event today. Stamps have what they call first day of issues when the stamp is first done. And we did the 40th stamp in the Black Heritage Series. We do one stamp a year honoring an African-American person. And this year we chose Dorothy Height, who was a civil rights activist, a woman who is not well known outside the African-American community, but is well known within inside of it. And we went to Howard University, which I'd never been to, for a dedication, big dedication on stage. The politicians were there, the presidents were there, but it was a very wonderful afternoon. Very interesting lady who started her social activism in the 30s. I mean, before civil rights, and then was a mature adult in the civil rights movement, and then went on and worked with a lot of presidents. Headed up the created a sorority for Afro-American women. The National Negro League was president. I mean, she really did tremendous amount of stuff, but it's one of the fun things about my job. Every once in a while, I get to attend one of these first day of issue ceremonies. Now, I'm disappointed. I missed the ice cream one.
Oh, well, that would have been the go-to.
Yes, in Nashville, when there was free ice cream. That one broke my heart. But no, but it's very inspiring, and when I came on the committee 5 years ago, we were just pretty much running even with the time schedule, but now we're 2 years ahead. So life is very interesting, but it's also interesting too. I don't think people realize how much work goes into making a stamp. First of all, the idea has to come from somewhere. Now, the normal way they come in is that people write into the post office and say, we think this is a good idea for a stamp. And those just come to us, and we have to review them. And then we will select topics or people or whatever off that list and put them into, for want of a better word, an under consideration list, okay?
Yes.
But then in order for a topic to come off that list, one of us on the committee has to write a work plan, creative work plan, CWP. And then once that's approved, that goes into a year to be determined list. And then as we do the schedules for the years, 2018, 2019, 2020, and so forth, we pull information off of that list and put it in to the schedule. And then the next thing that happens is that then the one group of people have to clear the rights to the thing. Now, today, this rights issue is huge. We were looking at doing a stamp for a certain musician who will remain nameless. And he had 6 children, 10 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren. In order to do his stamp, the Postal Service has to get a release from every single one of those people. And it's gotten to the point where, because of the litigious nature of people today, that we can't do a lot of stamps for people we'd like to do stamps for, because the release process is onerous. And now it's gotten even a bigger problem. Was, for example, if a person should have to be a baseball player, not only do you have to get a release from his family, but then a release from the teams he played for, then a release from the photographer that took his pictures, then a release from National Baseball. And I'm not sure how much of this stuff we're going to do anymore. On the other hand, if we do a pretty picture of American scenery, we're in good shape. But
I was wondering if it's going to be a drawing or a painting of the subject.
Yeah, but
where do you go to commission the art, or do you just open it up?
We have a wonderful group of art directors who do some of the work themselves, but also job work out to people. And then as I said, the Citizen Stamp Advisory Committee, which I'm a member, not only advises the Postmaster General in subject matter, but we get to look at the design and improve the designs too, and which is very exciting. Sometimes a stamp can go through 10, well, not, yeah, there's one stamp recently that went through almost 10 designs till we found one that we thought was workable. And then, of course, the final thing is the Postmaster General has to like it and sign off on it. So it's a very, I mean, people go into the post office and see a stamp, they think there's nothing like it. I have a fun story I can tell you because this happened, and we issued a skywriting love stamp, you know, for Valentine's Day. The new Valentine's Day stamp is the word love written by a skywriting plane.
Yes. Okay.
Now this was drawn, but they decided for the first day of issue that they would actually hire a plane to do this in the sky. And so what happened was, on the first day of issue, it was going to rain. So they had to go up the day before and do it and videotape it, which was fun because what happened was, now you think you know everything, but certainly I do know everything. But what happened was, and what's interesting is the people that were at the ceremony that saw this happen, the skywriter can't see what he's skywriting. He has to have an intricate map, a set of turns and directions, because he does it all on one level plane. Right. And so, and when he finally got done, the word love spread out over 5 miles in the air.
Wow.
I know. You know, you look at something and you think, wow, that's really simple. But it was fascinating. When I was a kid, I used to go down to the Jersey Shore to Seaside Heights. And that was in the late 40s and 50s. And there were skywriting planes back then, you know, besides the planes that towed the banners across the beach. There were people that did skywriting. And, you know, you think, well, isn't that neat? And so, you know, when you get somebody that wants to propose to somebody on the beach and have the skywriting plane write, marry me, it's not an easy task as it seems. I mean, whether the woman says yes or not is another matter, but, or whatever it is. Yes,
yeah, I just thought you just got up there and you
I know, you just got up there and just, here it is, boom, boom, boom. But he goes up there with this very intricate chart with this turn, that turn, so many minutes here, so many there, this, you know, do this, do that. It was kind of fun. Well, this is, you know, all part of the fun. I wish I could, I am prohibited from talking about any stamps that has not been issued or announced.
Well, that makes sense.
But, well, it does make sense, actually, because unfortunately, we work on stamps that sometimes get almost all the way through design, and then something happens and they don't get done. And we don't want to get people's false hopes up on there. But we've got some great stamps coming out this year. I'm trying to remember. Well, the Lunar New Year stamp is out now, and now the Dorothy Height stamp is out of the Black Heritage thing. And let's see what is happening. There's one coming out and another. Oh, we're doing a one for the 100th anniversary of JFK's birth, and that will be at the Kennedy Library up in Massachusetts, and that's due to release in about a week or two. So there's a lot of great stuff coming out of there. This is my beginning of my 6th year on the committee. We serve 3-year terms, and I can serve up to 4. So this is completing my second 3-year term, and I'm hoping in December I'll get a chance to do it again.
Yeah, well, let's hope so.
Well, the other thing too is that, you know, it's fascinating. We cannot count on collectors anymore to buy stamps. The amount of money represented by collectors buying stamps is minimal.
Yes, I have not bought stamps for a long time.
But you're not a collector. Are you a stamp collector?
Well, I'm sort of an amateur collector. It's not serious, but I still have my album from when I was a kid. And
now the stamp collectors complain that the reason for this, of course, is that the new stamps are on peel-off panes, right? So
yeah, but I would think
you put it in an envelope and save it. But the thing is, the stamp community is losing members every year.
Well, yes.
People just aren't coming into it. So what we count on is all those people who find the subject matter of a stamp fascinating, or who just love stamps and will buy them and use some of them and never use the rest of them, so we don't have to deliver all the services. So we have to do attractive, fun stamps that people love to buy but don't necessarily want to use.
Yes.
Well, it's an interesting marketing concept.
Well, it is, and my daughter went through a phase of buying every cat stamp and every horse stamp that she could find, regardless of the country.
Well, the thing about it is that last year we issued a soda fountain collectibles stamp.
Yeah.
Well, soda fountain was called Soda Fountain Favorites. It had an ice cream cone. It had a root beer float on it. Had a banana split. And I take some pride. I mean, we work as a unit, so that no one stamp is any one person's things, but I had a lot to do with that stamp, and I'm very proud of it. And I'm also proud to say that it was one of the best-selling stamps in 2016.
Well, that's good.
Very good.
You know, you don't have to put a stamp on it, but we would like to get some mail from our viewers.
We would. Actually, it's because of the way we ask for the mail that the post office is in trouble. No, you can email us. Do you have a topic you'd like us to talk about? Do you have a question you'd like to ask us? Do you have an object you'd like us to talk about? Well, you can ask your question, send us information about your object along with plenty of pictures to community@worthpoint.com. That's community@worthpoint.com. And you know, we really would like to get some more stuff in here. We know people watch the video, and it's not that hard to do. We're not asking you to come on when we're on the air here, which is usually Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock. You could, of course, come on air and join in, or at least send us a chat message while we're up on the air. But on the other hand, we know a lot of people are. Well, I don't know why are people so shy about appearing on?
I don't know, but you know,
well, we certainly are not, are we? No.
Yeah, no, we're not. Last week we spent almost 20 minutes on a question about some
We did, because it was an important question last week. By the way, so we'll take a look at an interesting object this week. We have two of them in the thing. I don't think we're going to spend 20 minutes on the first one, but I want to take a look at a rather unusual pin that came in to us because the person who has it is perplexed.
Yes.
Not only is he perplexed, but so is the archivist at WorthPoint. Now, this is a pin. It's dome-shaped, as you can see. And in the center is a crest that is very similar in style to the WorthPoint crest, okay? It's not an exact copy. The WorthPoint crest involves an eagle and so forth. But it involves in the center around the eagle this shield with a sword and United States Military Academy and so forth. Now, let's go on, and you can see it's pretty good size. This is 503 across its dome. Let's look and see what else we have picture-wise on it, because it's curious or that. Here you can see the back of it, and here you can see that it's obviously got one of the old standard turnaround clips that was very typical of the late 19th, early 20th century. That standard clip with the little pin that you push back didn't come until 1907. And we have one more thing which is very difficult to make sense, but I'll interpret it for you. There are some marks on there, and what they are is they're the marks of a manufacturer, a New Jersey manufacturer. No, I'm sorry, New England manufacturer. And a set of numbers. Okay, now let's go back to the initial slide. So the question is, what is it? Well, it's not a piece of military decoration, that's for sure. Because if this was uniform related, we'd see tons of it. But what piece of any uniform would involve a pin like this? Doesn't. And you can go look at all the WorthPoint military uniforms or whatever, and it's there.
Well, my thought, and I don't know if it's right, because I haven't talked with you about it, but I thought it could be a kilt fastener.
A what?
You know, when they wear their kilts, the Scottish kilts.
Who wears their Scottish kilts? The cadets at WorthPoint?
Some of them did. I went back and saw.
No.
Yeah, I checked out photos. So if they fold it to wear it up over their shoulder.
I asked this one because I don't. How did they attach their kilts?
When they fold it up and it goes up over the shoulder, they would have a pin or a clasp that was sort of sat over your chest.
You didn't see one that looked like this, did you?
No.
Oh,
I
okay.
did, but that was the only idea that I
No,
could
wait a
come up
minute.
with.
No, but that's a better idea than almost anybody else has had about this type of thing. Now,
Because I couldn't understand why it's bell shaped, right? What would
why it's a dome shape,
dome shape? Yeah, why
like a
what would
lady's
fit in that opening?
like a lady's pin.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. Well, the thing about it is that the guy that owned this sent it to the archivist or whatever at West Point. Okay.
Yes.
And the archivist at West Point conjured that it was something made special for this one guy, and it's a one of a kind thing. Now there is that, oh my gosh, I could only hope to God that's what I got, which is a one of a kind something, okay?
Yeah.
And I, being the great poobah or poo-pooer or whatever term you want to use for me, is going to tell you right now it's not one of a kind because it's got a manufacturer's mark on the back and a code number. And that code number is a way to order more of them.
Really?
Yeah. Well, how else would you explain it?
So
It's a manufacturer's log number.
okay. Yeah.
Well, the situation is, but the problem is that when I checked WorthPoint's Worthopedia and I checked around, I can't find another one. Now, the difficulty with all of this is that when you say, well, I've never seen one before, I can't find another one. When people tell me that, my first comment is, where have you looked? Okay.
Yes.
And the other thing is this manufacturer was a manufacturer of mass-produced stuff. And clearly this is a stamped device. And you can see it stamped out, right?
Yes.
I mean, that seal isn't pasted on there, it's stamped into the metal. All right. So what do we have? I still think it's a women's pin. What's its value? Well, since you can't find another one, who knows? On the other hand, if you were a West Point collector or you were something, I think it was meant as a gift for a gal, like a pin for a mother or for a sweetheart or something, and sold in the shop. But there's no record of it at West Point. And so here we are. What is the antique business at best? It's a guessing game. Your guess is as good as my guess, or whatever it is about that.
Right.
And so, my best guess on this is that it's some form of jewelry related piece. And none of this Scottish kilt buckles
I looked
at all like
looked it up, and there's anything.
Well, there's nothing like that anyway here. So now the question then is, what is it worth? Well, I did write the fellow to say, please tell me what he paid for it. Well, of course, he didn't respond for that because he's hoping I'm going to give him a number higher than what he paid for it. I think it's in the $75 to $100 range. That would be my best guess, even though it's good size, because nothing's known about it. Now, if you finally were able to find out where it came from, or you were able to find out a story behind it, then its value could be worth a lot more. But collectors don't pay for what they don't know, or are unwilling to pay for the unknown in a lot of cases. And I think this is one of them. It's a neat piece. I mean, I'll tell you, neat for me is if I'd have saw it for $25, $35, I'd have probably bought it. If I saw it for $60, I would have thought about it. If I saw it for $100, I wouldn't have touched it. And I love neat things, and I'll buy neat things. But anyway, there it goes. And what does all this mean in terms of what we talk about here on WorthPoint Chats with Harry Rinker? You can't know everything in this business, and you can't learn everything in this business either. And so you've got to do your best guess. But now I'm going to ask Greg, when he gets a chance to find those pictures of WorthPoint cadets in Scottish outfits, to send me them, just so I can see what the heck's going on.
Oh, okay.
But no, it's a fascinating piece. By the way, interesting. Received an interesting article in the mail and had an interesting talk tonight with a friend of mine who's occult branding at one of the members of the Citizen Stamp Advisor Committee, Citizen Advisory Stamp Committee is BJ Bueno out of Kissimmee, Florida, who is a cult branding expert. And we got talking about big data. Do you know what big data is? Big data is this new ability to capture all kinds of personal data on the internet about you.
Yes.
every like you click on everything, and before you know it, they can build a profile of who you are and what your likes are. Every link you click on, everything you click on, right, goes into this database. What this enables people to do is to target message people. In fact, target you specifically. And big data has been used a lot recently, but recently it was used in the presidential election by, of all people, Donald Trump. And Hillary used digital media. She used a lot of, used to go on AOL and gripe every time there was a thing about supporting Hillary, or she all did this digital stuff and all the rest of this type of stuff. What Trump did was hired this agency who's a master of big data and use it to analyze the voters in the swing states. And as a result, apparently the Trump campaign was able to, first of all, create targeted messages almost to the individual in swing states and get emails out. The other thing that was fascinating is they used this data to determine what states Trump had a crack of winning, and in the last week sent Trump into them. And where did Trump go in the last week? Michigan, Wisconsin. And Pennsylvania. And it's, I read an article on this. So I asked my friend BJ, who does a lot of consulting work for very big companies, from Adidas to Walmart to you name them, Kohl's and that type of stuff. And I asked him about this big data. He says he uses it all the time. And now I'm thinking, how do we use it in the antique business? You know what the problem is? We can't afford it.
Right.
Again, because this is the curse of the antique business. We're so individualized. Even the big players like Heritage Gallery, again, the big auction companies like Sotheby's and Christie's and Heritage Gallery can't even afford to use this stuff. They don't have enough reason. But the small individual shop owner, the small person, even WorthPoint. I don't know how you don't use big data, do you? Have you ever
heard that? No.
No, and the thing about it is, but when you have enough money and you can do it, it's extremely effective. And this goes to show what I continue to think. We've talked about this from time to time. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it tonight. There's a gap existing, a growing gap between us and the world because of the digital age. The ability to digitize our business is going to be a problem. WorthPoint showing the way to digitize information, prices, right?
Yes.
Marks, a whole bunch of other things, and you can do that. The auction houses, whether it's Sotheby's with its program or Live Auctioneers or some of the rest of them have, but the individual shop owner, the individual show promoter, the individual, temporary dealer, for whatever term you want to use for them, they don't have the money to do this type of stuff, nor the time. And I don't know how we're going to take our stuff up into this digital age. It's a fascinating concept. Also, I hate to say, I don't want to talk about my bathroom reading, but there are certain publications that sit in the stand by the throne upon which I meditate from time to time, and I had the recent AARP on there when it talked about the number of people in the greatest generation, the baby boomers, the generation X, the millennials, and now Generation Z. Although I don't call it Generation Z, I call it the entitled generation. And there were the numbers game, and it always troubled me that advertisers didn't pay more attention to baby boomers and everything else. But then all of a sudden you see the numbers and you realize we ain't the numbers. At least I'm not one of the numbers anymore. Even though we may have more money, the point is that what the advertisers want are young people they can brand. And that goes around to this whole branding thing. If we want young people to collect, we have to brand them into collecting. And what are we doing about it? Very little. Because most of us collected because it was fun, because our peers collected, because it was something that we did when we saved family heirlooms and a whole bunch of other stuff, right?
Yeah. Well,
But the young people aren't doing that. And if we don't somehow get them branded into the concept that collecting is good and collecting is fun and collecting is this, we're going to keep losing customers, I'm afraid. But I'm going to be looking more into the big data business. My 3 columns on the top 10 changes in the last 20 years have been published now. And I think we had a little problem about some of our WorthPoint listeners clicking on my columns and getting the link there, but you straightened that out now, I understand.
Yeah, there was a glitch that changed a thing within the code, and
there's always a glitch.
There's always a glitch, yeah, a bug in the system, but it does work now. I went back and fixed it. So
by the way,
click away, you'll get to the right spot.
Speaking of glitches, I got a interesting email from Will Seipel, head of WorthPoint, who was not thrilled with some of my comments about his selling on eBay. Particularly, he is annoyed about the fact that a woman he hired to put things up on eBay turned out not to be the whiz kid he thought she was, right?
Right.
And who took a piece of Sevs that Will was convinced was a period Sev, and Will thought was worth into the hundreds of dollars or more, and put it opening at 99 cents and misspelled the word Sevs, and it sold for very little money. Well, Will said, "Get the story right. She was a jerk." All right, I'm easy with that, or incompetent or whatever. Well, he's changed his tactics now. He's got people working with him that seem to know what they're putting up there. But he's come up with a philosophy of selling on eBay to make money, which I think is a very interesting thing. Yet, in order to be effective in selling things, you have to list at least 8 listings an hour.
That sounds about right, and it's possible if you you take all the pictures in bulk, and then you write your description.
Yeah, but if you have to do eight listings an hour, let's say you work an 8-hour day, that's 64 listings a day. But then you have to check the existing listings back and close everything out. So you can't do 64 listings in 8 hours. You got to do 64 listings in 4 hours, so you could have the remaining 4 hours to do the rest of the business of eBay.
You're true.
So but he claims it's working, and he seems very satisfied. But I did hear something that shocked me. Every once in a while, you'll see antiques and collectibles up on Amazon. But someone told me that Amazon now has an enormous fee if you want to become a private seller on Amazon. And there's an upfront fee that's staggering, that's prohibited from allowing people to go up and just sell antiques and collectibles. There's a buy-in fee to become an Amazon seller. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did. I don't know what the number is.
But it isn't like $50. It's like $1,500 or several $1,000s or some number. I got to check into this. I was a little surprised. But speaking of being surprised,
to sell a one-off, it's not. Amazon doesn't want to deal with it.
Yeah, but that's right. Because it's a volume seller, and they make their money on the volume, and that's always been a problem, even for eBay. And one of the reasons why eBay got out of the collectibles business, actually. But there is we have another object here, which is an interesting one. We should look at it anyway. I got an email from one of our viewers that said she had a Goldschneider figure. Now, Goldschneider is one of those terms that triggers, hey, money, 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 because Goldschneider was an Austrian, was a potter in Europe. I think it was in Austria, but Austria, yes. Yeah, that produced some of the finest Art Deco ceramic figurines and so forth. And then in comes this thing. And this is certainly not Art Deco, a young lady with a deer. And did I send you the mark on the bottom of this thing? Yes, there it is. Goldschneider, made in Austria, 7565887. Now, 7565 has to be the mold number, I'm sure. The 88 and 7 may be some other characteristics. But when you go to look up Goldschneider and you see all these high numbers, you won't find this figure. Why not? Because yes, here you are, Goldschneider. Okay, so you're gonna come up now, right, and show us some of your searches, right?
Right. So,
but look what you're seeing.
Yes.
Right.
It's a mixture. So
now go down to the dog. Go down to the dog, because that dog is from that same era that this other piece is from. And how much did the dog sell for?
The dog got $99.
Ooh, that's a good price for that one.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. How about the couple right down below the dog?
$30.
$30 for the couple, right?
2 weeks for the couple. Yes.
Yes, and the reason for that is that that's post-World War II Goldschneider stuff. After the war was over, they put the factory back in and made these cutesy-poo trinkets and sent them over to the U.S. for export.
Yeah.
Now, on the other, let's keep going down further here. Let's rank it by, I love to do this because you can do this. Rank it by value.
Okay. So by value, I think we're going to get the Art Deco girls are going to be the highest ones.
That's right, exactly.
Oh, well, that's bronze. That doesn't belong.
It's not Goldschneider. Is that Goldschneider? Keep going down. I don't know. We have to be.
So what happened? I think.
Well, there's some of the brands.
Somehow I dropped out of the.
Well, put Goldschneider figures in there instead of just Goldschneider.
For some reason.
Or Goldschneider ceramics. Just put.
Well, I'll get the values here. Somehow I decided I didn't want to be logged in.
All right, try Goldschneider porcelain figures.
All right.
That should get rid of those sculpture things, I'm thinking. I'm hoping. Maybe not. And again, this is one of the things where if at first you don't find what you need, you just got to keep trying to type around. But there's the one young lady on the right there. It doesn't seem to have a full picture of her, but she's a pretty expensive gal. Oh, there she is.
$5,500.
$5,500. And this is what happens if you just go into a site and you don't do these manipulations by thinking you see these kind of numbers. You can get these numbers in your head very quickly because they will say, well, my mark's exactly like the one on the bottom of that one, right?
Yep. All right. Well, here, look what I found.
You didn't find, there it is. Oh, still a good price though.
But that was 6 years ago.
Yes, and that market's going the other way.
And it also sold in the UK.
Yep. Yep, and that market in the States is probably down by 2/3 at least. You're looking at $50 to $75. And that's another thing, though. First of all, it's good we found it, right? Because we may now know what the title of the piece is. Young Girl with Fawn.
Young Girl with Fawn,
right. If that's the right title and they know that, then you can do a search under that title too. But the other thing is you do have to look at the date when this stuff is done, right?
Yes, because otherwise it's just a snapshot in time and you don't know when it was.
Exactly.
And on WorthPoint now, it's gone back 10 years or more. And so if it sold in 2006, that's nowhere near a valid number.
Yeah, and what you have to do then is say now it's 2016, so we're 10 years later, and you have to say, okay, now you can go through and try to make some judgments by ranking it with most recent sales and finding this type of thing. I think you'd find the market's depressed.
Yeah. So I found something that was similar.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, this is a wolfhound instead of a deer.
Yeah.
And this was $313.
Yeah, but that's nice.
2014. Okay, so it's a little bit more recent. It's not apples to apples.
I wonder if that Hertwig Catsuit is the name of a designer, and that may be the reason why. The other thing too is that you have to be careful because dogs are worth more than deer.
Yeah.
But I mean, but these are the things where when you're doing research work, you have to be on top of this. Well, anyway, we won't want to go further because we've used up our time again. Again, yes. Well, this is always good. So before we go off the air, though, let's put that plea, begging. I'm down on my knees, but not really. But we'd love to hear from you. How about an email about how we're doing, what ideas you might have, what you'd like us to talk about? Do you have an object you'd like to do it? Community at worthpoint.com. I don't know why your W is up there, but there it is.
My W?
It's just the W is up there. The email address is not.
Oh, really? Because I see.
Yes, I'm glad. So do the rest of us.
Hang on. Hang on one second. We'll get it here again.
Yeah, well, you whipped by it here. There it is. Community at WorthPoint.com. Please send us some emails.
Okay. Now, can you hear me?
Yes, I
as
can,
well?
sir.
Okay.
So we'll say goodbye.
All right. Well, it's time to say goodbye, and so we'll put the slide up, and we'll talk to you next week. Well,
We will, sir.
Where will you be next week?
Oh, I'll be back in Kentwood, Michigan.
Okay. Sounds good.
Where it's
well, enjoy your time in Washington. Say hey to all the stamp guys for me.
Yeah, well, we almost saw Ben Carson today, but he didn't quite make it. He was involved with a meeting with Chuck Schumer. I would have liked to have been a fly on the wall.
That would have been interesting. All right, Harry. Well, have a good evening. We'll talk to you next week.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.